Hello and welcome once again to our online reflection for this week here on Liberton Kirk Online. It's lovely to be with you in such a beautiful week where we've had scorching temperatures, and I can imagine that we've probably gone in and out of the shade, in and out of the shade, just to try and keep cool, but also embracing the sunshine at the same time. It's lovely to be with you. We're going to be looking into one of David's Psalms once again, and this one is a psalm of encouragement. Now, on first reading, you might think, actually, it doesn't seem encouraging at all. However, it propels us in order for us to realise where we should turn to, but also recognises what we need to do and take that big first step. That's a crucial word I want to say, the big first step. But I'll delve into it as I offer this psalm here from Psalm 51 verse 12. David writes this: "Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me." Here's a saying that I've been repeating in my head this week in particular, and you probably have encountered it yourself. The first step is always the hardest step to take, but it can also become the most crucial step to take. And you're probably wondering why I'm saying this. Well, it's because I'm reflecting back on this week in particular, where there has been a long hiatus and absence. I myself took a big fresh step, and this was to go back to one of my first loves that I encountered when I was younger, but has been slowly placed on the back burner. Exercise. Now, you can picture this scene. There's me all ready to go, and I spend an hour in the gym, coming out to the end of it feeling refreshed, revitalised, energised and pleased that I had finally taken that big first step. Only for the next day to roll around, and then there's me left walking as if I have aged over 50 years, being barely able to make it across the living room floor because of all that lactic acid that has now built up after months of inactivity. With that being said, here is this crucial question. Would I just stop there? Would I just give up and say, no, it was good for me back then, but I just feel like I can't do it now? Then that's when I soon realised that those questions that came and popped into my head often come from a place where we evaluate our end goal. And sometimes our discouragement comes from where we place those expectations and things that often seem the hardest to reach now. But true encouragement comes when we can place that goal, that expectation, in experiences that we have felt before. That should always be the thought that propels us to keep going. How can David demonstrate this in this psalm in particular? Well, David writes this prayer because he realized that something was missing. This close, intimate relationship that he had with God was tarnished because there was a wedge that was driven between himself and the Lord. That wedge in particular was made known to him as he faced the reality of his transgression, the realization of his brokenness, and was reminded of all of this by the prophet Nathan. But in his remembering, David now takes the first crucial step in crying out to the Lord, that big step of faith, to turn to God and say to him, I want to be reminded of the joy that you give to me because you have saved me. But he just doesn't leave it there. David now goes this much further beyond than just requesting this once-in-a-lifetime experience and encounter. He asks God to bestow to him the chance to encounter again and again and again. More specifically, he wants this moment of restoration between himself and the Lord to be everlasting. He doesn't want it to be fizzled out like it did before, but he opens up to God the doorways of his own heart for the Lord to continue to sustain him and give him that much needed sustenance for the true journey of faith. That within itself will enable this incredible joy, not just to be this nice occasional moment, but to be a constant encounter and manifestation within his spirit. Through it all, this prayer becomes a breakout of that long silence. It now becomes this declaration of seeking restoration and sustenance. So through all of this, David's prayer is a reminder for us, just as how we depend, for example, on water to keep our own physical bodies nourished, so must we realize once again that we have to open our hearts and our eyes to see too. No matter if it feels like if it's a brisk jog and a country road, or if it feels like we are treading through quicksand in scorching heat, we need the dependency of God to give us His Spirit that will give us the joy that can help sustain us once again for the long journey of faith. Let David's prayer be for you that gentle reminder that in the times in our walk of faith where we feel like there is no possibility of turning back to the Lord to grant His power of restoration to us, the Lord is always faithful, and He is inviting us to encounter Him once again so that we can feel energized and sustained for the road ahead. How's your motivation this week? How is your faith this week? What is your end goal? Maybe today will be the chance where you can turn to God and say, God, nourish me once again. Help me to take the big stride of faith for that big journey of life once again. I need to depend on you once again, but not just for today, but for every day. There's a reminder for you. Keep going strong, and until we see each other again, take care and God bless.